Hello and welcome to this educational module about silicosis. Now, silicosis is a critical occupational lung disease. While it is one of the oldest known forms of occupational lung disease, it is also the world's most prevalent chronic occupational lung disease. Now, as physicians who are dealing with workers, it's important to recognize this condition. It's really vital to be able to diagnose it early because it causes progressive, irreversible pulmonary fibrosis for which currently there is no cure. Now, silica-related diseases, including silicosis, are such a serious health hazard that the very ubiquitous sand around us can be the precursor for a lot of other medical conditions. So let's understand silicosis in an easier way. To understand silicosis, one has to understand silica as such. Now, silica, the particle, is found freely in materials like stone, sand, concrete. And this particle is so potent in causing inflammation and scarring that it can lead to irreversible scarring in the lung. And this makes lung functions worsen and it makes breathing really, really difficult. It also causes a lot of immune regulation or rather dysregulation, and hence it is a common element to cause alteration of the immune system, increase the risk of lung cancers, and it has been widely found in many industrial sectors like mining and quarrying. This is one sector which has the highest risk, but it is also found where there is granite, there is sandstone, and it's also being used increasingly in engineered stone. So engineered stone, this industry where kitchen bench tops and other products are being made of engineered stone and granite-like material, this industry is responsible for a recent major spike in cases in young workers because here the silica content is very high, and in materials like quartz, it releases much more silica than a natural stone. So in this industry, it's really high. So silica is actually silicon dioxide. So silicon dioxide is commonly known as free silica. And as I said, it's a component of the Earth's crust. There are three main forms of silica or silicon dioxide. The first is the crystalline silica, the microcrystalline silica, and amorphous silica. And as you can judge by the name, it really is the geometry of the particles and the size of the particle that is determining the various types. Now, we can bring down and pay attention to each of these particles one by one because that will help us understand what diseases they cause. Let us start with amorphous silica. So let's just go the other way around because amorphous silica is abundant naturally. Amorphous silica is a component of diatoms. So plants, algae, and amorphous means it is randomly arranged silicon particles and oxygen particles. So this makes it not like a crystalline structure. It's not a rigid tight structure. It is like a powdered form or a jumbled form of silicon particles, and it is a component of skeletal system of a lot of microscopic marine animals. Now, because it is a jumbled form, it's not a concrete structure, it doesn't cause too much irritation and does not initiate any immune response. But this amorphous silica, if it is heated to very high extreme temperatures, then these molecules can rejumble, restructure, and become fibrogenic. So even the amorphous form of silica, if heated at very high temperatures, gives rise to strongly fibrogenic forms, which are called cristobalite or tridiamide forms. And when I say extreme temperature, it goes up to temperatures above 1000, which can only occur when we are doing a lot of intense manufacturing using heat, using explosions, sandblasting, mining, etc. So this random structure can become compact, and you can understand it like carbon and diamond. Just like carbon particles are loose carbon particles, and this, if it becomes a tight 3D structure, it becomes as strong as diamond. So amorphous silica, which is otherwise not problematic, can convert into something which is very rigid and can cause disease as well. The second form of silica one must know is the crystalline silica. This is actually the well-formed geometrical arrangement of silicon and oxygen particles, which gives it a 3D structure. And of this, the main types are quartz, and you will hear a lot about quartz because quartz is responsible for a lot of these diseases coming out of silicon dioxide. So quartz, then the tridimite form and the cristobalite form. So the structure is different, the geometrical placement is different, but these are compact, tight, rigid structures. Now, crystallite silica, the tridimite and the cristobalite form are very fibrogenic, but quartz is also extremely fibrogenic, and they are more fibrogenic than the natural free silica that is everywhere. The silica content will also change with the kind of the rock that you're dealing with. So sandstone, granite, slate, it can vary. Some forms have very high and some forms can have a lesser content of silica. The third type of silica is the microcrystalline silica. So this is something in between. It is neither as loose as the amorphous silica and nor as tight as the crystalline silica. And this is the middle category. It comes as flint, chert, chalcedony, and this subcategory is basically formed by a geological process where there is an intense deep pressure and temperature, which is making an amorphous silica a little more compact. So this diagenesis or heat triggered change in the structure leads to microcrystalline silica, fine crystal structures. So what is silicosis then? We know about silica particles. We need to know about the disease. So silicosis is the occupational lung disease, which is caused by the inhalation of this silicon dioxide. And this crystalline form of silicon dioxide is responsible for the disease. Now, usually it may start as a simple inflammation and immediate parenchymal damage, but it eventually results in restrictive lung disease. But why do only few people get this restrictive lung disease? We are all exposed to sand. Children play with sand. Why not everybody get this and why only few? So it really depends on what is the duration of aerosolization and what is the size of the silica particles that you're inhaling. So whether these segments, these forms are respirable, they are able to reach the alveoli. If they are less than 5 micron, we call them respirable crystalline silica, RCS. These particles reach the farthest points in the lung and they are more pathogenic. So it depends on what is the aerosolization of particles. It depends on what is the extent of exposure of the particles, the size of the particles, and then that silicon dioxide can cause silicosis.